Hi, I'm back. I'm Debbie Cox with Coa Banker, Tennessee Valley Realty, and I've got Dwayne Griffin with me. He's with Trustmark, and that is a mortgage company in Florence, Alabama, and we've used them quite a bit. And Dwayne, tell people how it is with getting a loan and what's the first step you should take. I know as a realtor, I want my folks to be at least pre-approved before we go to have somebody clean up their house, and we take them to show them the house and then they can't get a loan. So we know, and to know what price home we need to be in, what price area.
Well, Debbie, the first step is for that person to call their lender. We'd be happy to meet with them, to talk over the telephone. They can call in. We do pre-qualifications over the telephone, by internet, or somebody can come and sit down with us. That first initial application will allow us to pull their credit. It'll also allow us to see how much house they can afford and what different loan types they qualify for.
Yeah, so it's pretty simple to get pre-approved, just at least so we can know for sure what price range you're in. Some people think they can afford an $80,000 home when they can afford a $150,000 home, and it goes vice versa too. So, you know, we want to know where you're at, what kind of payment you want to have, and you can do that once you get pre-approved with a loan officer such as Dwayne.
Yeah, people will often find that they want to buy more house than what they may be able to afford. But then in other cases, people may be able to afford a lot more house than what they're looking for.
Right.
And the down payment is also something that's always one of the first questions is, what is the down payment requirement? And that's different for different types of loans. The VA, for instance, has a loan program where you have no down payment needed for our veterans. You also have USDA rural development loans that do not require a down payment. And then on conventional loans, they require as little as 5% down payment, and then FHA loans are 3.5%.
So by customer understanding what kind of loans are out there, they can see which one's the best fit for them according to how much money they got to pay down or whatever. And sometimes a 100% loan can come in pretty handy if you qualify for that, if the house qualifies for it too.
Yes, it can.
And there's certain qualifications I understand for FHA houses and all too.
Yes, there are different qualifications for different homes, VA, FHA, USDA. The USDA homes we find are mostly houses in rural areas, generally outside the city limits in our area. VA has no such requirements, but they do have standards for the homes. The homes have to be in livable conditions.
Yeah, and it has to be a conventional loan to get a clunker, right? Get a fixer-upper. So, because there's got to be some state of repair for a house for the FHA loans, and they can't be in terrible shape.
That's true.
So, if you want a fixer-upper, you need to know if you can get that kind of loan. Get a conventional loan that's normally a 20% down, isn't it? Or is it 10% now?
You can do as little as 5% on a conventional in most cases.
Great.
If you do the 20% down on conventional loans, then you can avoid the PMI, or primary mortgage insurance. And that's something that a lot of people opt to do.
Yeah. And that falls off after the house appraises for more. Is that right?
Once they build up enough equity in their home, generally when you get 20% equity, you can request for the PMI to be removed from your monthly payment, and once you reach 22% equity, the PMI is automatically removed.
So do they get it reappraised?
They can have it reappraised if they're requesting for it to be removed.
Oh, okay.
That's part of the process. They have to pay for an additional appraisal at that point.
Right. It's a workable thing to do.
It is.
Well, what kind of loan programs you got besides you got the FHA and the conventional? What do you see that are problems that people might have to get a loan?
Some of the biggest problems that we're seeing with people getting loans are their credit scores and their debt-to-income ratios. Now, first off, you have to have minimum credit scores for most of the loan programs out there.
Right.
And FHA will allow credit scores down to 600.
Right.
And if you have a 600 or above credit score, there's a good chance that you can qualify for a home loan.
Right.
The next step beyond the credit score is your debt-to-income ratio. The debt-to-income ratio is something that we have to look at to make sure that people aren't biting off more than they can chew. They're not trying to get into too much house. So we have to look at what other debts that they have to pay, if they have a car payment, a credit card payment, a student loan payment, because we don't want them to get overwhelmed with a house payment.
Right. The people don't want to get in trouble
No.
with what they're going to do later. So it really is protecting consumers. It's not. And is that set by the government? I guess it is, isn't it?
It
or
is.
it the lending institutions that set that?
The government does set debt-to-income ratios for their different loan products.
Okay.
And then the lending institutions can set additional debt-to-income limits,
Okay.
for their
Accordingly.
part. Yes.
Well, if you're going to get somebody pre-approved, or well, say you've got them pre-approved, you've done it by phone, you got a pre-approval. What have they got to do to get the final approval?
To get the paper approval, they need to bring in their tax returns, their W-2s,
Okay.
their pay stubs for the last 30 days,
Okay.
their bank statements to show where the down payment money is coming from, if there is a down payment.
Right.
And we will use this information to make sure that what we have in our system matches our approval.
Okay.
So it may be that someone is saying that they get paid more money per year than what they actually get paid because they're counting their overtime.
Right.
And we cannot count their overtime because they may not have been at their job for 2 or more years.
Yeah, I ran into that with a customer before. They got a lot of overtime, so that was sure they were going to get approved. So pre-approval isn't the same as final approval, but
That's
it's a
true.
start.
It is a start, and we all have to start somewhere.
Yeah, and you can start looking at houses in the price range and all, but you don't really want to get final approval till you get the house, till you pick out the house. Is that right?
Final approval will come through the underwriter.
Okay.
And the underwriter has to look at the appraisal on the house. So once a person has contracted to purchase a home,
Right.
then we can order an appraisal on the house. We take their income documentation, the appraisal, we send it to the underwriter so the underwriter can review all the documentation
Right.
and make sure that the borrower meets all the federal lending guidelines
Right.
and does the final approval on the loan.
So see, it's simple. You just got to get started. And the time to get started isn't after you've looked at 15 houses, because you're probably in the wrong price range. So, I'm about down to begging folks, please just give somebody a call, and I give them some numbers, including yours, and just see where you stand with getting a loan approval. See if you've got a chance. Some people don't have a chance.
The pre-approval is the best place to start because a lot of people say that they want to be in a certain price range, and when we go over the monthly payments, that may or may not be the price range they end up with.
Yeah, and sometimes they can get more. I've had
Sometimes
customers
they
get more a lot of times, and so they're going, well, great, I can go buy a bigger house than what I was thinking. I'll tell you a story of something that happened to me one time that right at the last minute, I had this home for sale, and it was in the country, and it was kind of pretty rough shape, had some land with it though. But anyway, the guy did the contract, and he was pre-approved, and everything was just hunky-dory. Well, he quit his job the day before closing. Yep, and that got checked. And so everybody's mad at me, of course. I didn't tell him to quit his job the day before closing. But anyway, it went on pretty interesting. But anyway, we got everything fixed up. I think it was within 60 days of the day he was turning in. But he quit his job to open his own service station. So you don't quit your job or change jobs in the midst of all this going on.
We take a snapshot of your profile, your credit history, your income history, and that's what we like to see consistently through the closing process.
Right.
And when you start changing things up, if you change jobs, that may change your income.
Yeah.
That may change your probability of future income. It may change overtime. So you want to keep that the same, and you also don't want to go and take on any new debt. All too many times we've seen people go and buy a new car, a new boat, or most often probably new furniture for the home that they're about to
Had
purchase.
that happen before too. Don't
And
buy furniture yet.
That can be a major roadblock.
Yeah.
It may throw your debt to income ratio over what's allowed.
Uh-huh.
So then we have to work feverishly to try to get it back in line,
Yeah.
or you may have to end up putting down more money to lower your loan amount.
And hopefully we can get the contract extended if something like that happens.
Yes, it does take time.
That's another reason to use a realtor, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Oh, that's kind of hard to negotiate by yourself if something like that happens. But we try to advise our people, our clients, don't do anything like that, because most of us are older realtors. We've been around for a while. We've had these experiences that tell you this might happen. So you start advising people really fast about, don't do that. So,
Yeah, we actually have a form that we have our borrowers sign off on, and we go over this information on that form, advising them not to do these things.
Oh, that's a good idea. I might need a copy of that form too. But it's an interesting business, I know. And
It
I
is.
know you get stressed. I get stressed sometimes. We're rushing to make sure everything's done and closing on time. And it's just a lot more to purchasing real estate than people really realize. They really don't see what we do behind the scenes when it comes to problems coming up sometimes, right before a closing too. We've already got title work ordered and home inspection be done, and then something, a little glitch like this can just sneak in on you, and then you got to handle it. We learn to adapt, let's put it that way. We've learned to adapt to do these things.
Adapt and overcome.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but it is a rewarding profession.
Uh-huh.
It's something that when you're sitting at the closing table,
And everybody's so happy.
everybody's happy.
Oh, I love it.
Everything is gone the way it was planned. There's just not a more rewarding moment than that at the closing table.
I agree with you. There's a reason why I do what I do. You know, I like helping people do what they want to do in life, and this is a good, rewarding job for that. So,
Yes, it is.
well, I appreciate your help at all the closings we've done, and my agents too. And we enjoyed working, Dwayne, and we have a good time together.
Well,
And
I
we
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
And if I have one thing that I can add, one piece of advice that I can give to everyone out there, and that is with your credit, go online to www.annualcreditreport.com. Check your credit if you're getting ready to buy a home. Before you talk to a lender, check your credit so that you, as the borrower, know what's on your credit before you go see a lender.
Yeah.
That will give you the confidence to know that there's no surprises that are going to come out when you get to the lender, because that's often a time period where people are awkward. They're waiting on that credit score to come back
Right.
as the credit report's generating, and they're very anxious, not knowing what's on the credit report.
And you can know it ahead of time.
You can know it ahead of time, and credit card balances is probably the key thing that I see most often.
Yeah.
If you keep your credit card balances low, that will increase your credit score dramatically.
Yeah, discipline, folks, discipline.
Yes, if you have a high balance on your credit card, even though you pay it on time every month, it's going to lower your credit score.
Yeah, keep those dealers and bills down, girls.
Store cards.
Yeah, and daddies don't go buy cars, fancy cars, right before you're trying to find a house. So.
Or trade cars.
Yeah, or trade cards, yeah. Well, thanks, Dwayne. We appreciate you.
Well, thank you, and I just want to say, Trustmark is a FDIC insured lender and an equal housing opportunity lender. So anything we can do, we're happy to help you. Please
Okay.
give us a call. Thank you.
Bye-bye.